So here I've got a picture of Robert Hooke, and he lived hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And he was a famous scientist, and we still remember him today because he made a really important discovery. And he did it by using this device here. So it looks kind of funny, but this is actually a very old microscope. So this here is an old microscope. Doesn't look really like the ones that you're using in science, I'm sure, but this is a microscope. And the very important discovery that he made by using this microscope was that he looked at some cork cells using this really old looking microscope, and he found out that they were composed of all these little compartments. And this is a drawing he made. So you can see in these pictures here that he's drawn, there's all these little boxes, little boxes, little boxes, little boxes. So, and this is the same over here. There's all these little compartments. And these little compartments of the cork, so this is a living plant, they're cells. And so he discovered that living things are made up of cells. So it's a huge discovery in science. And scientists have been studying cells ever since. And in the period after Robert Hooke discovered cells, several scientists kind of worked together and they made up something called the cell theory. So the cell theory is basically three things. It states that all organisms are made up of one or more cells. So that is that if you are living, you're made of cells. Maybe one cell, could be trillions of cells, but if you're a living organism, you're made of cells. It also says that the cell is the smallest living organizational unit. So anything smaller than a cell, if it's just half a cell, it's not really living anymore. So it has to be a whole cell to be living, because everything in the cell helps the cells to survive. And the last part of the cell theory is that all cells come from pre-existing cells. So cells replicate to make new cells, so they reproduce to make new cells, and cells don't just appear out of nowhere. So hundreds of years ago, people used to think that living things just appeared, but that's not the case. All cells do come from pre-existing cells, or all living things come from other living things. So that's the cell theory, and that's a little bit about Robert Hooke, who was one of the founders of biology because he discovered cells by looking through his old microscope at cork.